Hey all, my name is Karen, and I'm going to be the lead instructor for the remote Android course this fall. I'm just going to give everybody like a couple minutes to join since I think we have a little bit more people RSVP than the people who's here right now. But throughout this whole session, I'm going to be talking, but we want to make it fun and interactive, right? So if this is your first time using Zoom, there's a chat option. So a lot of times I'm going to be asking questions and asking for you to answer through the Zoom chat. Does that kind of make sense? So maybe we could just like start with an icebreaker, like, hey, where's everybody dialing in today from? So I'm currently in San Francisco. Where's everybody else dialing in from today? You could go into the chat option in Zoom and kind of type your answer there, and I'll be able to see it. Nice. I love how remote courses are able to bring people from all across America, like in this one session. It's pretty cool. So I think we're gonna wait about one more minute before we officially start. I recognize some names from these people chatting. How many people are new to Codepath classes? Like this would be your first Codepath course. If not, how many people have taken a Codepath course before? Okay, cool. There's a lot of people who seem like they're new. Some people have taken a Codepath course. I teach a lot of Codepath courses, so sorry you have to listen to me again. Hey, Doug. All right, cool. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So this is going to be a pretty informal session. It's mostly here for you to ask questions and kind of meet the instructors who are going to be teaching the course throughout the fall. So it's going to be pretty informal. We're going to save most of the time for you to answer questions. Mostly we're going to start by having a little introduction of me and Diana, who's one of the other instructors in this course. Then we're going to give you a bit of a course overview about what you're going to be doing in the fall and why I think Android development is so exciting and why I think you should really put a lot of your effort into this course if you do eventually take it. And then we're really just going to save the rest of the time for you to ask any questions you have about the course. So the questions are going to be monitored through Zoom. So I'm going to ask you to type questions into Zoom, and then we're going to go through them and answer them one by one. That sound okay for everybody? Does anybody have questions so far about any of this? You say, yes, that sounds okay, or no, what are we doing here? Why am I here? So sometimes when I hear no response, I'm not sure if anybody's listening to me. Okay, cool. Thanks, Anthony. All right, so I'll just go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna be one of the instructors, but we also have two other awesome instructors as part of this course. So my name is Karen, and I've been working in the Bay Area as an engineer since 2012. And I've actually started doing Android in 2014 when I myself took an Android bootcamp class through Codepath. So that's pretty cool. I do a lot of Android right now. I'm currently working at Google, working on some of the Android framework stuff. So I mostly work with open source projects to kind of show developers how to use specific APIs and all that stuff. So I do a ton of Android. But Diana is also here. I want to give her some time to introduce herself.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Diana. I actually also took the Codepath bootcamp the year it was at Netflix, and subsequently got a job offer on the Android UI team after taking that bootcamp. So there I worked on like a lot of UI features. And then basically I left the Bay Area for North Carolina earlier this year. I'm working for Instacart, and I have been for the past year and 8 months. Really love it there. And I work on the customers app.
Cool. Yeah. So I think it's pretty cool that me and Diana both took the Codepath Android course, and then we become full-time Android engineers. And Marina is going to be the other instructor for this course, and she also actually took the Android bootcamp course through Codepath. So it's pretty cool how you could take a bootcamp course through Codepath, and eventually that leads to like full-time engineering positions in the subject that you're studying. So that's a little bit about us, but you'll hear all of our stories in the actual course. But I want to kind of get started about kind of talking about why I think Android is so exciting and such a interesting topic to learn right now. The first thing that I think kind of is mind-blowing is there's about 2.5 billion active Android devices being used in the world right now. And this is like data taken from like 2018. So I'm sure there's a lot more Android devices right now. So just think about all the power that you can have if you're able to build Android apps, right? You can be able to have your app on estimated 2.5 billion devices. The other thing is a lot of people, especially in America, have iPhones, but over half of all smartphones in the world are actually running Android. So being able to build an Android app is a really powerful tool. The other thing that I think is really cool that people don't talk about enough is the huge demand that are in for Android developers. So a lot of different subjects such as web or iOS are a lot easier to get into than Android. And that's why I think there's a lot more demand for Android developers, because a lot less people actually know Android and know how to be good at Android. So if you're really good at Android and you're looking for a full-time position, I often find that it's a little bit easier than looking for example, a full-time web developer position. The last thing that I think is kind of cool is that Android is used in all kinds of devices. So you might not really think about it much, but there are cars running Android. So cars running Android Auto, where you can program your car to be actually running Android devices. So if your car is running Android, that means you can write an app for Android and it will run in a car. Or similarly, there's watches, refrigerators, and even ovens that run the Android operating system. So being able to program Android doesn't mean that you're only able to program for phones, right? You can actually program cars, refrigerators, all these other Internet of Things devices, which I think is pretty cool. So the other thing is, okay, Android is really cool, right? But why is it so important to learn the Codepath? And these are some of my personal biased opinions about why specifically Codepath is a really great place to learn Android. So the one thing that I think I didn't get too much in college courses myself was that there was a lot of theoretical courses where I learned a lot of theory and algorithms and data structures, but I didn't actually get the chance to apply my skill and knowledge to actually build something real, right? And in this Codepath course, you're actually going to be building real apps to install on actual Android phones, what I think is really cool. The other thing is, besides just being able to build these apps, it's also really cool to be able to have projects to actually put on your portfolio, right? So if you are showing your recruiter or you're trying to get a recruiter's, sorry, my dog is like whining a bunch. I don't know why. It's a little distracting. Anyway, as part of this course, you're going to be building a lot of projects. And these projects, I think, are going to be really important as you're looking for internships or full-time positions, because these are projects that you could talk about with potential recruiters or potential employers in the future. The other thing that I think is really cool is something I also didn't get too much in college was being able to actually learn what it's like to be a developer in the tech industry. Because a lot of time it's just turning in coursework, building projects. But in this Codepath course, we're specifically going to be modeling after what it's like to kind of work on a project at an actual engineering company and what it's like to go through that process of building software and figuring out what it is that you want to build. So that's another thing that I think is going to be really valuable as part of this Codepath course. So kind of going through the different projects that we're going to be building in this app or in this class. The first one is going to be an app called Flixster. So this Flixster app is basically a movie browsing app, and we're kind of getting you started with Android development with this app by teaching you basic concepts such as how to build screens in Android, how to implement recycler views, how to make network calls to actually get information that you need to display on your phone, and how to kind of do navigation in your app, so going from one screen to another screen. So that's the first app. The second app is basically a Twitter clone, and this builds off of the concepts that we kind of introduced in the first app, and then builds off of them to make them a little bit more advanced. So we do a little bit more network requests, but these are more advanced. We talk about authentication, so that's something where you make sure that the information you're showing is based on the user who's logged in. And then we also kind of work on passing data between different screens. So it's pretty cool how by the third week of this class, you'll be able to basically build Twitter using network requests and all the other concepts that you learned before. And then the final app we're going to be building is called Parstogram. And this is basically kind of like an Instagram clone. But the really cool part about this last app is that you're going to be powering your own server. So you're going to be learning how to actually set up your own server, how to make your own REST APIs, and how to use something called Android Fragment, which is something that's kind of popular in a lot of apps. So these are the main 3 apps that we're going to be building throughout the 6th course of the remote course. And the idea is that through the concepts that you learn through these 3 apps, you will be able to build any app idea that you have afterwards, because we teach you all the basic concepts, so that if you have any kind of app idea, you'll be able to build it yourself afterwards. So that was my little spiel, but I wanted to basically open it up for questions now. So what questions does everybody have? There's, you must have came to this section for some reason, right? So what kind of questions do you have right now? And me and Deanna are here to answer all the questions. It doesn't even have to be about the course. It could be about, for example, anything you're curious about, what it's like to be an Android developer, what it's like to work in the Bay Area.
I actually have a question for people. So I would like to know how people learn best. Do they like lectures? Do they like a lot of background information? Do they like all live coding? Do they like seeing code examples but not live coding, like working from a perfect model?
A lot of people are saying they like mostly a mix. People like seeing live coding, it sounds like, seeing code examples, experimenting with what we learned. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, this is a lot of useful info.
Great question. Yeah, I was really curious about that too. Love it. Cool. We are trying to make it as useful for you as possible. So whatever you say here is basically how we're going to try to format our classes when it actually comes around. So this is really useful information for us too. I'm going to scroll up a bit and see what kind of questions people have asked. Let's see. So, okay, this is a really common question, I think. What kind of prior knowledge does one need to kind of succeed in this course? I think you should at least be familiar with Java. So if hopefully you've done at least one class that was in Java. If you haven't done one class, hopefully you've done something in Python. So you should at least have some programming knowledge and be able to write if-else statements and for loops. If you know Java, that would be really great. If you don't know Java, it might be a little bit harder, but not impossible. You don't have to know anything about Android at all. So I would say the basic requirements are that you're taking at least one programming course. It might be a little harder if you don't know Java already, though. Someone asks, will we be in pods? Yeah, it's a really interesting question that I didn't actually bring up in my lecture, but the remote course is only 6 weeks, but the second 6 weeks, it's going to be optional. So we're going to let people optionally do a group project with some other people from the Android class and the iOS class so that you can come up with your own app idea and use all that you've learned to build your own apps. And that part of the class will be kind of group-based. We haven't quite figured out how we're going to put people in groups yet, but there will be a group-based portion of this class. But that portion is also optional. What would be good to study in the 2 weeks until the course starts? Yeah, that's a good question. I think the best thing to study would be to get really familiar with Java. I think the biggest thing I've seen people struggle with throughout this course isn't quite the Android concept itself, but if people aren't familiar with Java, it becomes really hard to learn both Java and Android, right? So if you have some free time and you're up for it, I think doing some practice projects or practice problems just in the Java language, just to get comfortable with the language, would be really helpful.
Yeah, and I would definitely add that being comfortable with object-oriented programming is also very, very helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Will we learn any backend? Yes. So in the third and last app that we work on, the Parstogram app. So this Parstogram app is going to be like Instagram, except it's going to be powered by your own server. So this is where you're going to learn how to do a quick and dirty way of spinning up a server and creating your own API. So that part, we will be doing a little bit of your own backend. And also if you opt in to do the group project for the second 6 weeks, you're also going to be having to figure out how to build your own server to serve your APIs. Oh, sorry. How can we join the Android bootcamp? Yeah, so this is kind of a long story, but before Codepath was codepath.org, it was codepath.com, and they had Android bootcamps for professional engineers instead of students. So that's basically what me and Deanna took. Now it's been reworked to become this class you're taking. So this is basically the Android Bootcamp, where I think we did almost exactly the same projects as like 6 years ago as you are doing now. So this is basically the Android Bootcamp. How much Java knowledge should you have? I think, like Deanna said, being familiar with object-oriented programming with Java. I don't quite know. Deanna, how much Java program do you think they should have in order to succeed in this class?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it depends on how much tolerance they have for looking stuff up. But I really think, just when to use classes, like how to organize your classes, just like kind of basic feel for architecture is more helpful than syntax. Know your syntax, but you can always look these things up.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know about Deanna, but I Google a lot during my job. So I obviously don't know everything. A lot of my job is still Googling how things work.
Same.
Let's see. What kind of feedback will you be getting on your projects? I believe, so this is actually going to be the first time we're having such a big remote class with more than 50 people. Previous classes, I think we only had about like 15 to like 50 people. Usually the feedback that you get on these projects that I just showed you is going to be like, hey, you did well on these parts. So for example, your UI looks really good. Your app looks really nice. It looks polished. Other kind of feedback might be, hey, it might be great if you try some optional features as part of this app. So you will be getting feedback. They're actually quite extensive, and I don't quite know how we're going to do that for this run yet. But you do get feedback on all the projects. Yeah, so remote sessions are only Saturdays, and they will be recorded. I believe you can only miss 2 sessions to not be forced to drop out, but all the sessions are recorded, so you do have to miss a class. You can always watch a session later. Oh yeah, so someone asks, I kind of just copied the pre-work. How much do we have to know from what we did in the pre-work? Basically, I would say you don't have to do much. If you're able to follow along with the video and build out the pre-work app, you're good to go. So when I took the Android bootcamp class, I was also in the same exact boat. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know any Android. I just knew Java, and I literally just copied everything from the video walkthrough and got through that pre-work that way, and that seemed to work out fine. So if you're able to get through the pre-work video just by following the video walkthrough, I think you're good to go. All the assignments also have video walkthroughs, so hopefully you won't have to struggle through those too much. Yeah, we're going to be doing this class in Java. Kotlin is another programming language that's really popular with Android apps right now. And the reason we're still teaching this class in Java right now is mostly because a lot of companies still have code bases in Java. Sometimes when a company is developing a new feature, they might write it in Kotlin. But we found that being able to write Android apps in Java is still a really useful skill, especially if you're going for a big company role. Big companies tend to have older code bases that still have a lot of Java code. So being able to do Java is still really useful. Should we go over the prep work that we were required to do? I think it'd be really helpful if you reviewed the pre-work that you were required to do, just to get a better idea of, hey, these are the basic concepts of Android, and this is how I set things up. This is how I build screens in Android. I think it's always helpful to get in a little head start there. But yeah, you will be building all 3 of these apps in 6 weeks, which is kind of crazy, right? So each of these apps is your assignment for a 2-week span. So every week you're going to have assignment that we're going to be checking on. And every 2 weeks, you're going to end up with a complete app. So by the end of week 2, you're going to have this Flixster app build. By the end of week 4, you're going to have this Twitter app build. And by the end of week 6, you're going to have this Parstogram app completely built. Do we need to know data structures and algorithms? I don't think you quite need to know algorithms. Deanna, what do you think?
Yeah, algorithms. It's such a big word. It could be just like steps for anything that you want to do. But as far as like an algorithm that you would study for an interview, no. Like, no binary search tree traversals or anything like that, no dynamic programming. Um, but yeah, data structures like, know when to put something in a list, know when to put something in a hash map, like, stuff like that. Yeah, basics.
Yep, it's nail. Just the basics. Don't have to know any of those hard binary search tree dynamic programming questions though. Uh, so for the Saturday remote classes, it's going to be every Saturday for 6 weeks, and the class starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time and ends around noon Pacific time. Yep. So the first three apps that we kind of showed here are you working by yourself over the first 6 weeks, and then the second 6 weeks, which is optional for everybody, is going to be the group section. So the first 6 weeks, you're kind of just learning by yourself, getting familiar with Android, learning how to build Android apps. And then the second 6 weeks, we're going to put you in iOS and Android combined groups, so your group can actually build out your own app ideas. How does the lab work for remote classes? Are we going to get paired with someone? Oh yeah, so as part of this course also runs on a lot of campuses, but we're doing the remote version. So this remote version is a little different than the course we run on campuses in that we only hold it once a week instead of twice a week, which is what the campus course does. So on campus, we also have these labs every week for students to work through to learn concepts better. And we don't quite have the time to do the labs in this class, but what we're probably going to do is spend some time in class to actually do live coding with the labs. So you won't be working through the labs yourself during class, but the instructors will probably walk you through some parts of the lab, and then you can continue working on the lab by yourself afterwards after class. Will there be office hours, or how can we ask instructors for help? We haven't quite thought about office hours yet, but we have a help channel through Slack. So once the course starts, everybody will get added to this Slack channel. And if you have questions about your assignments, or you're stuck, or you just have general Android questions, you could always ping our Slack channel. And we do have a group of TAs who have taken this course before. So we have an army of like 6 TAs who are going to be able to help answer all the questions you have as you're working on the assignments. So all the lecture notes and all the slides are also going to be posted in basically what's our course portal. So you don't have to worry about missing anything. We're going to post the lectures, we're going to post our slides, we're going to post our notes. Everything's going to be in our course portal. Does Codepath offer the interview prep courses other than summer? Fortunately, right now, so Codepath also offers these interview prep courses where we basically teach you stuff like binary search, dynamic programming during the summer. We have 3 separate courses: a beginner track, intermediate track, and an advanced track. And these courses only run during the summer right now. I don't know if we have plans to offer them outside of summer for now. There's a lot of questions. Cool. Keep them coming. If you all have no questions, maybe me and Deanna can ask you some questions. Deanna, you have any other questions for them? I like your first one.
Yeah, I guess I'm really curious. What are people most nervous about for the course? Time. It's funny, just the time issue. I remember when I was doing this boot camp, I was working a full-time job. I had to drive an hour and a half down to Los Gatos from Oakland, like twice a week. And then we did similar projects. We did 4 total projects, and we only got a week to do them.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about.
And yeah, and I since I've never taught this course before, every single week, I don't know if y'all still do the leaderboards, like the top 3 students, because everything was graded according to a rubric, and the top 3 students' names were posted every lecture after the projects were graded. So it was a little stressful.
I don't think I ever made the top 3. So I was honestly just trying to get through the course. It was so much.
Oh my gosh, I remember I was gunning for the top 3 every single week because I wanted that job at Netflix. Like there's money on the line.
I love it. I think we do have, so for the optional group project, we are going to have some prizes for that. If anybody is motivated by those kind of incentives. But that ties in really, really well to this question someone asked about, hey, how many hours per week would we have to spend to be successful in this course? I have an idea. Deanna, what do you think? Successful is such a different range.
Yeah, I think the thing that really I think pushed me over the edge as far as like being prepared for a full-time Android role is like kind of going above and beyond like the basic features that I'm expected to implement. So just like, you know, rack your brains, like do the basic stuff and then say, hey, like if I'm building Twitter, what would be a good feature to add? Like, you know, that's not listed on this rubric. And, you know, how many different features can I add before, you know, time's up and I have to submit the project? Yeah, it really pushes your Android knowledge. Totally. Because then you get into, okay, I don't know how to do this. Codepath doesn't expect me to know how to do this, but I want to do this.
I think we say we expect students to spend about 5 to 10 hours in this course per week. So 5 to 10 hours per week, just do the basics, just to kind of build out the app. But I think, like Deanna said, if you really want to get good at Android, it might be more of like a 15 to 20 hours per week kind of thing. But if you just want to put in 5 to 10 hours a week and just try to get through the class, that's totally fine too. But if you actually want to really get good at Android and make all of your assignments look really awesome with really polished UI, that might take a little bit more time. See, does being part of this course improve your chances of being part of the coding interview program? Yeah, so I think our coding class during the summer has had like 6,000 applications last summer, which is a lot, and we were only able to accept about 800. I don't think being part of one Codepath course necessarily makes it gives you a better chance to participate in another Codepath course, unfortunately. But I think we are thinking about how to expand our courses so that more people can join. A lot of people are really nervous about the time. Honestly, that was probably the biggest stress for me too, like finding enough time in the day to actually put all the effort I want into this course. Yes, you do get a certification. If you turn in all 3 projects on time, and if you complete all the required features for the 3 projects, you do get a certification at the end of the 6 weeks. How do I manage a full-time job and teaching? Well, Deanna's doing the same thing.
But you've done it before. This is my first time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
This is also a question I have for you.
I think, well, one, I have a lot of time because right now I'm just at home all the time like everybody else. But also, I think I don't quite see doing this as work, just because I think this actually gives me more energy, because it's something so different from my regular job of doing software engineering, right? So I'm actually like really excited whenever I have to do Codepath work or whenever I get to interact with students. And also, I've been in the tech industry for, I think, let's see, almost like 9 to 10 years now. So I'm getting like a little bit jaded, and being able to interact with like all of you really like helps me get energized and feel excited about the tech industry again. So I think the answer to that is I don't quite see this as a job. So I feel like, hey, when I get to do this, it's kind of like, hey, my hobby. I have time to do this, which I get really excited about. So it is 6 weeks for the required course. The required part of the course is 6 weeks, where we're building out these 3 apps. And then we have an optional 6 weeks afterwards where you can participate in a group project. And so total it's 12 weeks, but the last 6 weeks are totally optional. So you can still get a certificate, and it still counts as you completing the course if you just do the first 6 weeks of the course. Do I have any tips for time management? I'm honestly not the best. Maybe Deanna has some tips for time management.
So I would recommend doing this work in blocks. So I would go to a cafe, just like sit down, take like 4+ hours, order like a treat, so you get that like reward system going, okay, I'm going to this cafe and I'm going to do work for 4 hours, but I get like a delicious scone with like, I don't know, cream on the side, or whatever you like. I know that's hard to do right now, but maybe like takeout. Um, so yeah, I recommend doing it in blocks of time. No like, little popcorn pieces of time here and there, no interruptions, kind of lock yourself away, because I think like that's the most efficient way to do it. Like you just get locked into the mindset of like completing the project, and then it flies, the time flies.
I love it. Wish somebody had told me that earlier. We have not implemented the leaderboard that Deanna was referring to for the remote course. We might do something like it this time. What we've done in the past is for every assignment that you turn in, you also have to record a GIF of what your app looks like as you're going through all the different screens. Sometimes I look through the GIFs and then I try to pick out the ones I like the most and feature that. So that's one thing we do. We don't have a leaderboard right now. Yeah, the optional group project is something you sign up for later. So after the first 6 weeks, if you're like, hey, I love Android, I want to actually put my skills to use and build my own Android app along with like some iOS friends, then you can sign up for that later. But yeah, that is something you sign up for after the first 6 weeks. What's the passing grade for getting a certificate? I think the passing or the requirement to get a certificate of completion for this course is going to be you doing all the required features for the 3 apps that you're going to building out. I don't think we have a specific score that we're assigning. Does Codepath offer courses for post-college students? Not right now. I don't think we used to have courses for professionals working already, but right now I think we're mostly focused on college students. What's the deadline for deciding when to participate in the second part of the optional 6 weeks program? We don't have a deadline yet. I'm thinking it's probably going to be after the first 6 weeks is over, and then you kind of decide, hey, yeah, I totally have the energy to take on 6 more weeks of this. So deadline is not approaching anytime soon, so you don't have to worry about that. Do you get to choose your group mates? I think we're gonna do something kind of like speed dating, where you're gonna meet up with people through these little things called breakout rooms, where we pair you with like 2 or 3 other people, and you go into your own little room to kind of talk with each other, and then you can kind of say, hey, I like this person, and I really want to work with them, or you can say, hey, I really don't like this person, I really don't want to work with them. And we're probably gonna have something where people kind of pitch their own app ideas, and you're like, hey, I have this awesome app idea about how to see ratings for restaurants or something. If you want to work with me on this app idea, feel free to come join my group. So we're probably going to have something like that, where we let you meet some other students from the class and let you also pitch your idea to kind of recruit people to join your little startup team of iOS and Android engineers. For us taking the remote course, when do you recommend for learning Kotlin? Deanna, any insight on that?
Okay, I was trying to reserve my strong opinions on Kotlin. I think you should start learning Kotlin, period. Like I used it at Netflix primarily. I use it at Instacart. Like 90+% of our code base is in Kotlin, besides like a few features nobody has bothered to convert. But it's the lay of the land now, to be honest. And like I strongly believe that, when you're out applying to different companies, like it's a strong plus that you know Kotlin. I actually interviewed when I was like going through the rounds, interviewing the last time. I was down to like 2 companies, Instacart and this startup. And I did both my interviews in Kotlin. And one of the deal breakers for that startup was that even though I did my interview in Kotlin, all of their interview questions were in Kotlin. They're like, well, you're going to be doing all your work in Java because we think it's a big risk to convert all our code base at this point. And like, I mean, I was at Netflix, which like pretty much started using Kotlin like the day of the announcement. So I'm like, so you have this app with like over 100 million device installs that like didn't think it was too risky. Like imagine how many people would be pissed if like Netflix, well, I mean, we were just the app. I don't know if like people would be that pissed. They'd be a little pissed. And then they go to their like PS4 or whatever. But if risky, I don't know. I don't think it's that risky. I think it's just, it comes down to like, are developers like really, really motivated to convert the code base? Like, do they want to work in a language that makes everything easier for them? I say yes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Kotlin does seem like the future. Well, in fact, Android did say they're going Kotlin first.
Kotlin first.
So they are investing a lot into Kotlin. So if you have the bandwidth, like Deanna said, start now.
Yeah, and then another point too, when you're learning, is a lot of the documentation on Google developers is in Kotlin. So when people are writing tutorials and everything, they're writing it in Kotlin most often. You can find old stuff in Java, but like especially when you're learning, like you want to be able to understand the tutorials that people are writing. I mean, it's not like that big of a switch, honestly, and it's not scary. I was really scared to learn Kotlin at first. I was like, I don't know about this. I'm building this new feature. And like, honestly, I think I can only recall one or two weird things with Kotlin that turned into bugs. And that has to do with using like annotation JVM overloads. Yeah, we don't have to go into all that, but yeah.
Yeah, Kotlin is really cool because I think a lot of people complain that, hey, I have to write so much code for Java, right? Well, Kotlin solves a lot of that. So Kotlin is pretty cool. So if you have the time, definitely recommend looking into it, like Donna said now. If we're here through Grace Hopper, are we eligible for the optional portion? Yes, everybody is eligible for the optional group portion. It's going to be awesome. How did our experiences at Codepath lead you to full-time jobs? Yeah, this is a cool question. I could start and then maybe Deanna could talk a little about it. So basically I was working as a software engineer at the startup in the Bay Area, but I felt like I wanted to do something different. It was more back-endy stuff, and I didn't feel as much joy when I created features in the back end. You can't be like showing someone, hey, I created this feature, because nobody knows what you created when it's back-end stuff, right? So I decided to take the Android course. And the Android course, I think back then was like 8 weeks, and I did it while I was working a full-time job. And then after I took the 8-week Android course, I was like, I'm so awesome at Android, I'm just gonna go for full-time Android jobs, right? The plot twist was I sucked at Android after 8 weeks, so I failed a bunch of Android interviews. But then I studied a lot more and did a bunch more interviews and learned from my mistakes. And I think that's how I eventually ended up getting some Android offers. So finished the Android course, thought I was awesome, went for a bunch of interviews, failed a bunch of interviews, tried to build out my own side projects and then learn from that. And then recruited again like 3-4 months later, and that's how I landed at my full-time
job. Awesome. Yeah, like for me, my experience was a bit different since I was taking the professional boot camp. Like I knew when I applied for the program that like, Codepath at that point was a low-key recruiting tool for companies. So companies used it as a recruiting tool for new talent. And then they also used it to like train their own internal engineers to learn Android. So I was taking like this course alongside some Netflix engineers too. And then the man who would eventually become my boss was sitting in the class every single week, like basically scouting out talent and everything, sitting in the back. So like I knew that the pressure was on and I wanted that job. So basically like a company doesn't 100% commit to hiring people. Like companies in the past have hired multiple Codepath graduates. Netflix specifically only hired me. However, they interviewed, I think, about like 5 or 6 of the people who were in the class. So, it was like the interview itself, there was like, Android involved, but it was way more. It was like prior work that I had done because I switched over from web development. I had to do like UI design and basically system design, and then like, behavioral interview. So it kind of ran the gamut, and it was all about basically assessing my potential to grow into a good Android engineer. And it was funny because like I at Netflix, everything was like pretty open. So like I out of curiosity like Googled to see if I could catch any of my interview notes. And some of the folks who interviewed me said like my knowledge of Android was much deeper than he would expect from somebody who took an 8-week boot camp. So I think that's a testament to like the quality of the materials in Codepath, the stuff that we go over, the projects that you build, and then eventually the group project. It really, really helps you learn. I know 3 weeks or 6 weeks is not a lot of time. Sorry, I said 8 weeks. Sorry, my boot camp was 8 weeks. I'm getting all confused. But yeah, so just like you can learn it well, and if you like take it far enough, you can be prepared for a full-time road. Like I still had a full-time role. I still had a lot to learn, but it was good prep.
Yeah, I think Deanna brings up a really good point, like the contrast between how much effort I put in versus Deanna put in. Like I didn't put in that much effort, and I ended up failing a lot of interviews because I didn't dive deeper into the topics. I didn't try to build out these optional features. So I didn't do too well after the interviews versus Deanna, who actually did put in all the effort and time, did a lot better. So like all other things in life, this course is going to be a lot about how much effort and time you are willing to put into. Let's see. Okay. Resuming to the questions in the Zoom chat, how will the optional 6 weeks work since iOS and Android are separate and different? Yeah, so I think the idea we have right now is that you'll have one general app idea, right? So it'll pretty much look the same on Android and iOS, but you're gonna have some iOS friends and you're gonna have some Android friends, and the iOS people are gonna build the app that you're building, except for the iOS platform, and you're gonna be building for the Android platform. So at the end, you're gonna have this app that works on both platforms. I think is pretty cool. We are not going to be using and learning Kotlin in this course specifically, but yes, like someone mentioned, Android Studio does have this like handy thing that literally lets you convert Java to Kotlin in like one button click. You only need to know Java for this class. We're only going to be using Java. What's the best way to showcase projects we build in this course? Yeah, that's a cool question. Deanna, do you have any advice for showcasing projects that they're going to end up building in this course?
That's a really good question. I mean, you can release them in the Play Store, I guess, maybe. Would like if like I don't know, would Twitter like send you a cease and desist if you put your Twitter client out there? I don't think they would.
Did you, so I know you had some pretty cool apps during the course that you built out during the course. Did you put those on your resume or on GitHub or anything like that?
That's a good question. So like, when I got the Netflix offer, like that was the only place I interviewed with, and like, I immediately accepted the offer. So I didn't really like make the interview rounds, but all my stuff was on GitHub. Like, and then I like when I was interviewing, I did like have a build of some of the features that I was actively working on at Netflix to like show interviewers and everything. So you can just like keep the APK, which is like basically the installed app that you can directly build from Android Studio. You can just keep that on your phone, bring it with you to interviews. You don't have to go through like all the rigmarole of releasing it to the Play Store. And I think, yeah, you'll be good. Let people play around with it. It's always nice to like actually show somebody something.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that thing about having it on your phone, and we're in an interview because you're just like, hey, look, this is the app I built. You can play around with it right there. It's real. Should we learn Swift? I personally do not know Swift. I could kind of get around an iOS code base, and I could maybe scrap together a feature in iOS. Deanna, do you know any Swift or iOS at all?
I mean, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a double threat, but I've always like given up. Like I was like, I don't want to do these random tutorials. Like, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it would be nice, I guess, but like,
that's literally what I think. It would be nice, and I feel like one of my New Year's resolution every year is to learn iOS, and it never happens. So, let's see. Do we need to purchase a developer account if we end up publishing that? Yeah, I think you do have to pay like $25 to.
yeah.
Yeah, it costs like $25 to just get yourself into the Play Store, and then you can release as many apps as you want. So it's unlimited once you have that first $25 paid. I don't know if it's 25 or 75. I forgot. But
I
Apple's
think it's 25.
okay, nice.
Yeah.
Apple's 100, so that's a lot more expensive. Any tips for students taking the course? Yeah, I could share some, and then maybe Diana could share some as well. I think the biggest thing I see from people who end up succeeding in this course are the people who don't just do the basic required features. So for every app, we say, okay, you have to implement the login feature, and you have to implement making this network call to pull in all the data and show it on your app. So a lot of people go through the course and they just kind of do the required features. But I think the people who actually succeed after the course are the ones who, like Diana said, actually put in more work to understand what's going on. And the people who actually explore the optional features that we suggest you build to learn more about Android. Diana, do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, I mean, go above and beyond. Like, just don't be passive, like, kind of like be engaged in material in the sense of what features would you like to see as a user, thinking about that, and then trying to build them, and then also, I think, man, so I so I went the traditional route. I have a computer science degree and everything. And I found like architecture really, really lacking. And there are lots of opinions out there on what is good Android architecture. So I would like try to kind of develop a sense of, what's out there and trying to be thoughtful about the ways you want to architect your app. Because I feel like, as a student, like that's not really something you get. And then in the professional world is really important. And then also for your own sanity, it's really important, like just to have a consistent architecture in your code base.
Love it. Yeah, I think, yeah, these are things I wish someone told me before I started taking the course. Will we have access to the course portal after the course ends? Yep. So once you take one Codepath course and you have access to the materials to that course, you basically get keep access to those materials as long as you still have your GitHub account, because we use your GitHub account to authenticate you in our course portal. So as long as you're using the same GitHub account, you always have access to our materials. All the recorded lectures are posted on YouTube, and then we also post the links to our recorded lectures in the course portal. So, and we also send out links in the Slack channel too. Yes, there will be, I think there's going to be multiple Slack channels for this course. So one for major announcements, and then one for specifically for help. So if you get stuck on implementing a specific feature for an assignment, you can ask for help in this Slack channel, and the response time for these help questions is going to be amazing because we have an army of awesome TAs who are going to be helping out. So I think I saw some people who were a little bit worried about the support that you're going to be having in this course. I can assure you the support is going to be amazing. I think last year when we had this course with about 80 students and 3 TAs, the average response time for a question was like 2 hours. So usually it's way shorter than that. I think another tip that I would give to students is, last year at least, all the assignments are due on Fridays. And Friday night at like 9 p.m., everybody was like mad rushing trying to complete their assignment, right? And that's when we get a bunch of questions and a bunch of people wondering why their apps are crashing. And that's when we don't quite have the capacity to help everybody at once. So don't try to finish your assignment last minute. Any crazy Android dev stories? I have to think about this. I don't know if Diana has any on top of her mind.
That's a good question. Crazy Android dev stories. I mean, I still don't know what was happening with this. but I remember at Netflix, like, um, this, like, we were getting these weird crashes for one of the features that I owned. And it was only on a specific set of devices, like specific set of Nexus devices that were like really popular in another country. And we didn't really like have them like immediately available to us. So basically, like, at Netflix, there was like this device lab, which was like running like automatic like builds and like automatic test suites daily, like very time consuming UI test suites. Like, so basically, you know, if you run a UI test, it's very time consuming. It basically launches the app like a robot, fake robot, software robot, fills in all of the data, you know, fake clicks things and everything. And so I had to go there and like look through like these like 200 plus devices to, like, fingers crossed, hopefully find one of these like, you know, foreign devices that we didn't have any on hand. And so like the crash, I was able to replicate on one of the devices I found. Meanwhile, like, I had like the most senior engineer on the team. Like, this guy is like amazing. Um, like the feats of programming that I saw him perform while there, amazing. He was trying to help me figure it out. It turned out, so when I like ran the build that was crashing on it, it was like taking this one, like this one view, and it was like translating the ID to something in Norwegian. Like, I had to, I don't know how it was happening. I don't know why it was happening. Um, but this was causing a bunch of crashes. Like, that still boggles my mind to this day, but I fixed it. Didn't know what was happening, but I fixed it, you know? That's a horror story for me. Like when I don't know what's happening and like I'm like, you know, having dreams and night sweats about it popping up again because like I have no idea how to protect myself against it.
Yeah, I feel like one of the hardest things about Android is, I mean, iPhones are easy, right? Because there's only like what, like 5 different iPhones out there. Android is just like what, thousands of different kinds of Androids running different Android versions. There's just so many variations going on. It's crazy. I think one of my crazy stories is I built this feature for an app and then we released it, but then like 5 days later, China threatened to ban the app in China because of our social feature. And then so we had to do a mad rush to like do something that would appease the China officials to make sure they didn't ban our app in China because we're too social. So it was kind of interesting. Going back to the questions in the Zoom chat, does knowing Kotlin help for this course? I don't think it will help for this course specifically, but definitely will help when you're looking for Android jobs, or if you're doing Android, you're thinking about doing Android development full time. What kind of resources should you use besides asking questions in Slack or when I have bugs? Google, Stack Overflow. Yeah, this is a great question. Like, how do you unblock yourself, I think is the question here, because it's, you can ask questions and we'll help you, right? But that's always going to be constrained to someone else being able to have the time and resources to help you, right? The best way to kind of get over a problem is to solve it yourself. And I think we actually have some videos for this that we're going to send out to everybody before you even start the course about how to unblock yourself. Usually I just Google problems and that mostly helps me solve it. Another thing that a lot of people kind of undervalue, I think, at the beginning of your engineering career is looking at stack traces and figuring out why it's crashing and trying to figure out what's going on before just Googling whatever your error is. Dion, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like, ugh, how do you unblock yourself in a reasonable amount of time where you're like guaranteed to get a response from somebody, like before you either A, figured it out, or like B, like given up? I mean, yeah, it's like extensive use of the debugger for me. Like, yeah. And then Stack Overflow, really helpful. Random Medium posts, really helpful. Like, maybe you can find somebody on Twitter. I don't know who might help you. I don't know.
Yeah, Stack Overflow is my usual to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes Stack Overflow questions can be like a bit shady, so I always try to be careful about what I copy and paste from Stack Overflow as well.
Yeah. And then maybe like there's some Discord channels out there. Like yeah, Discord is like, I don't know, fairly popular amongst like, folks learning new platforms and everything. I
I,
haven't checked it out myself, but yeah.
I think I'm too old to know what people use Discord for. I don't even.
Oh no, I'm older than you. I'm way older than you, I'm sure.
Discord, the gaming thing. I don't actually know.
For everything. Yeah. Yeah. But mostly gaming.
I think we do have some students who took this Android course and started like an Android specific Discord channel. They mentioned it, and at that time I had no idea what they really meant. I was like, is that like a Slack channel? But we do have a general Android Slack channel in our Codepath organization. So sometimes people might ask questions there. Wow, we only have 4 minutes left. I'm kind of amazed at how much participation we're getting. I love it. Let's see. The due dates on the site says the last homework is due on December 4th. I think that's because the last due date is based on the optional group project. But yes, the actual required last assignment is due on the week after October 24th. So like the Halloween weekend. Was there a mention of a mixer with companies at the end of the course? Or will we be able to participate if we don't do? So for this course, we actually don't have a mixer with companies. This is the mobile courses for Android, iOS. We don't actually have a mixer with companies. The one where we do actually let you meet with other companies and connect you with recruiters is the summer interview prep course. So this course, we don't actually match you with any companies, unfortunately. Stack Overflow people are so mean sometimes. I agree. I promise you, our TAs in the Codepath organization, not nearly as mean. Yeah, I think we're just about to wrap up here. It's almost 6. I don't want to take up too much of anybody's time. But if you have further questions, you can always email support@codepath.org, and that will eventually get routed to either me or someone who knows the answer. So if you have further questions, you're just like, hey, I wish I asked this question during that session, you can always email support@codepath.org. Otherwise, yeah, thank everybody for sticking around for this long, and thanks for spending your Tuesday night with us. Hopefully, we'll see you all in the course that's going to start up in a few weeks, and otherwise, yeah, we'll see you all. Thanks everybody for joining.